Did it work? Let's see. All right, sick. All right, my phone just told me we're live right now, which is awesome. Everything's running smooth. I decided to do, or at least post these full card predictions a little bit later in the week. It got a little busy at the beginning, but I decided just to get them out. This is a good card. Next week, it's not looking too great. I'm going to be honest, at least for a pay-per-view card. They're kind of really hoping Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway really sell that card, but I don't want to be like one of those guys that's going to be like, oh, the hardcore fans will like this or whatever. But there are some like prospects coming up and some fighters that you probably should keep an eye on next week. And then the week after has a really nice fight night card as well. I think that one is in Saudi or something like that. So we have 3 cards back to back that look really great. Really looking forward to this one as well. I will say this is one of the cards where there are some names on here, I will say, and there are some really nice prospects coming in on this card, but betting wise, this is like a nightmare because you have Mike Davis, that's a pretty heavy lock. I want to say Chris Curtis is probably like one of my locks as well on this card, but the betting odds are just really rough on this one. So it is going to be a rougher card to bet on, but I am really looking forward to this one. It should be pretty entertaining. We're going to start off with the predictions. I'm going to answer any questions that you do have in the chat later on after my predictions are done. So what's up, Tehran? How's it going? We're going to start off with this fight, Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. I'm going to go with Fatima Klein. Melissa Martinez, when I watched her last fight, she just looked really low level. She was kind of doing the thing where they like circle around a little bit, and she wasn't really throwing much. She was throwing punches out of range, just looked really low level. Fatima Klein at least has some aggression. I think she even got a KO in her last fight, which I do like to see, against Victoria Dudakova as well, who I think is actually like a decent prospect for the women's division at least, or strawweight division. So I like her coming into this fight. She actually looks like she knows what she's doing. I'm going to pick her in this one. Maybe she might get the finish, but Melissa Martinez is kind of hard to catch sometimes. She's a minus 1,000 favorite, pretty heavy favorite. So let's move on. We have Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez. I'm going to go with Mike Davis. He has something to prove in this fight. I remember he was pretty angry on Twitter right after that fight against Perez Siam. He felt like he could have done better. I always looked at Mike Davis as a pretty good fighter because he's had like all these layoffs in his career, but he's always been pretty good. Like, it was pretty weird because he would have these amazing performances and then take like a year and a half off. So it looks like he's deciding to be a little bit more active than his normal schedule. Took a fight after 5 months off of that Perez Siam fight. I think he's going to look really good against Mitch Ramirez. I think Mitch Ramirez is solid. I remember his Contender Series fight. I don't know why I remember him so specifically, but I remember his Contender Series fight. He's pretty much solid everywhere, but he did get KO'd by Thiago Moises, did get controlled on the ground as well. I do like Mike Davis kind of incorporating his wrestling in this one and also using his striking, kind of mix it up on the feet, kind of mess with Mitch Ramirez a little bit and whoop him up. So I like Mike Davis here. I don't know if he gets the KO over Mitch Ramirez. Like, Thiago Moises was able to get him with the leg kicks. I don't know if Mike Davis can submit him or can finish him. I don't know if he has that kind of finishing ability in this one. So yeah, Mike Davis is very good. Minus 900 though. Betting odds are not very good. Next up, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Walter Walker. I'm gonna have to go Kennedy Nzechukwu. Walter Walker, he lost to Lucas Bresky, who I don't really value too much in the UFC, at least in the heavyweight division, after he kind of got off the sauce, because when he came into the UFC, I think he like popped or whatever, but he looked really good. After that, he's been looking kind of rough. He lost to him. Junior Tapa got a nice heel hook against him. Dontel Mays got a nice heel hook against him. So got some nice submission victories. But Kennedy Nzechukwu was kind of up and down. He's a hard guy to trust. I remember he beat Carlos Olberg, and then went on a couple losses that were super weird, and then lost to Justin Jacoby by KO. Lost to OSP a year ago, which is almost unheard of because OSP is not very good, especially at this point in his career. Super old. I don't know how he lost to him. Lost a split decision there. Beat Chris Barnett by KO. Beat Lucas Bresky by KO. So MMA math kind of says Kennedy Nzechukwu wins this fight. He's always been pretty good, but I don't know. He loses to the weirdest opponents. I can see him losing this fight because it just kind of makes sense for Kennedy Nzechukwu, but this is a guy that Kennedy Nzechukwu, with all the skills in the world, an 83-inch reach as well, will have a 5-inch reach advantage coming into this fight. He should be able to beat Walter Walker, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does lose this, but Skill wise, he should beat him. MMA math, he should beat him. He's a minus 240 favorite. If you're really confident in him, he's probably a good bet to put down this week, at least in a parlay. So let's move on. We have Lauren Murphy, unretiring, versus Eduardo Mora. I like Mora. She's long, kind of lengthy as well. She's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage, weirdly enough, but she is decently skilled on the feet. Lauren Murphy kind of just turns into a punching bag sometimes, and that was what, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It was against the top girls in the division, I will say. So maybe this one will look a little bit different, but she's 41 years of age. She's going to be almost like 11 years older than Eduardo Mora in this fight. Hasn't been active at all. I don't like that coming into this one. I'm going to have to go Mora by decision. I think she's going to piece up Lauren Murphy quite a bit. I think Lauren Murphy's just going to look really slow. Maybe she kind of fights through it, uses the pressure, and lands more shots on Eduardo Mora. Could happen, but I don't like the layoff. I don't like her being 11 years older than her. Let's move on. I'm going to say Mora by decision. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. Very interesting matchup. I've always liked Jake Matthews on the feet. Has really good hands. There's really nice combinations. The one thing I will say is his chin does worry me quite a bit. I think the thing that's going to give Chidi Njokuani the X factor in this fight is his power. Again, I can totally see Jake Matthews winning this fight, just using his combinations. I think he's going to look a lot faster. I think he's going to land a lot more shots on the feet than Chidi, but I think Chidi's just going to land the more powerful shots like we saw it against Matthew Semmelsberger. After Jake Matthews had that crazy performance against Andre Fialho, where everyone was kind of behind him, like, oh, this is the next top guy. It was a super weird time. And then Andre Fialho just loses a bunch of fights after, but he looked great against Fialho, just kind of pieced him up like crazy in that fight. And then right after that, Matthew Semmelsberger kind of just drops him multiple times over a few rounds, and he just got caught a lot. So Chidi Njokuani will have an 80-inch reach, will have a 7-inch reach advantage. I think he's going to be able to catch Jake Matthews on the feet. That's my thing with this one. Jake Matthews can have all the combinations in the world, has all the skill in the boxing department, and I think he's going to land a lot better, and I think he's going to look a lot better on the feet. I just think Chidi Njokuani just has that power, and it's going to keep a guy like Jake Matthews at bay, especially with like, what, a 7-inch reach advantage. I'm going to have to go with Chidi Njokuani. I don't mind Jake Matthews winning this one, but I think we've seen this kind of fight before with Jake Matthews against a power puncher. And he has beaten some decent opponents recently. Francisco Prado, nice prospect coming up. Decent prospect, I will say. Probably has a little bit more to learn. But Phil Rowe, decent fighter as well. I think just Chidi has way too much length on him and way too much power. And I think he's just going to drop Jake Matthews a couple times. Will he KO Jake Matthews? Probably not. Jake Matthews does have some decent recovery. Chidi Njokuani does have some decent ground and pound, but it's nothing too crazy. He doesn't really have, he kind of has like one punch KO power, but I don't know if he's going to put like Jake Matthews out cold in this one. So I'm going to go Chidi Njokuani by decision here. 29-28, maybe 30-27. I think as this fight goes on, he's just going to be able to find his shots a little bit better over Jake Matthews. So let's move on. We have Chris Curtis versus Max Griffin. Kind of have to go Chris Curtis in this fight. What is this fight at? Is this at welterweight or middleweight? I forgot to check. Let me double check real quick. Where are we at? Yeah, 170. So he's moving down for this fight. Chris Curtis is. I think Chris Curtis, at least in their career so far, like he's lost to Roman Kopylov by head kick, lost to Brendan Allen. Those are top guys in the middleweight division. I know it is kind of suspect sometimes with guys that move down from middleweight to welterweight. It is kind of suspect because the divisions are just like speed-wise, it's totally different. But Max Griffin has not been looking good at all. Lost to Michael Chiesa, who I think with the eye test, I mean, he's been getting some wins, but with the eye test, he does not look that great. I'm going to be honest. Looks slow. You shouldn't really be losing to Michael Chiesa if you're worth something in the UFC at this point. I don't mean that like disrespectfully, but if you're gonna do something in the UFC, you beat the Michael Chiesas of the UFC. So Max Griffin's just kind of on the way down of his career. 39 years of age, almost 40. Chris Curtis, he's 37, almost 38, but he still has some nice boxing, has some nice power in his hands. I think he's just going to piece up Max Griffin. Like Max Griffin, his best performance recently, I guess he went to a Jeremiah Wells split decision win there, but he was kind of able to land some shots on Michael Morales, who looked really good. It's kind of about it. That's really like the only kind of impressive thing recently. Beat Tim Means, another old guy. I don't know. I think Chris Curtis's boxing is just way too good. Not going to get taken down or anything like that. I think he's just going to land the more powerful shots on Max Griffin, going to land more shots on him also. I don't know if he gets the KO over Max Griffin, but I do like him just kind of piecing him up over the first few rounds. I think this is going to be pretty one-sided. I think this is probably the lock of the card, in all honesty. Minus 300 favorite. He's the most confident guy on this card that I think, outside of the heavy favorites of like a Fatima Klein or whatever his name is. So I'm going with Chris Curtis. I think he's got the best odds on this card. Let's move on. We have Junior Tapa versus Tuco Tucos. Very interesting fight because I don't trust either one of them. Junior Tapa, other than like his brother, Justin Tapa, who's a little bit more aggressive, Junior Tapa is a little bit more patient, likes to choose his shots, and it does throw a little bit more in combinations. Justin Tapa just kind of just goes crazy with his punches. Junior Tapa, I think he can stay at range and piece up Tuco in this fight. He is moving down from heavyweight to light heavyweight, so it's going to be very interesting to see what he looks like. If he's like all shredded and in nice shape for this one, it's going to be very interesting to see. Tuco, I don't really trust his chin, if I'm being completely honest. Like, he's a decent fighter, went to a decision with Navajo Sterling, pretty solid, did get pieced up quite a bit in that fight, lost to Omar C by submission in that fight as well. I remember he was also on Road to UFC. It was one of the few Road to UFCs that I actually watched. I probably should watch more of them, but it wasn't even like a part of the tournament. But he fought Mingyang Zhang, unfortunately for him, and just got put completely out cold. A very brutal KO. I think Junior Tapa can maybe catch Tuco a couple times. I do worry about Tuco potentially taking down Junior Tapa, but I do like that Junior Tapa is moving down from heavyweight. I think he's going to have a little bit more mass. Maybe there might be a little bit of like a size difference coming into this one. I know Tuco has a longer reach, but I just think weight-wise, Junior Tapa might be a harder guy to take down at light heavyweight. I might be completely wrong there, but I could be completely wrong. Junior Tapa, any of the Tapa brothers are very hard to be confident in, at least with their takedown defense. So I like Junior Tapa in this fight. He's a little bit more technical than his brother, has also the power in his hands that his brother does have. I think his brother probably throws a way more into a shot, so maybe his brother probably has the edge in power, but Tapa still has crazy power. Decent kickboxer before coming into the UFC as well. I think he's just going to be able to land the more powerful shots on Tuco and get the KO. I don't trust him at all, but I'm just going to have to side with him in the power. I like that he's cutting down from heavyweight. He's going to have a little bit more mass on him, but Tuco could win this fight. I think as this fight goes on, it's probably going to side more with Tuco in this one. So I'm going Junior Tapa by KO. I'm going to say late first, early second round KO in this one. Let's move on. We have Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. I don't think Austin Lane is good at all, even though, yeah, he did lose to Tapa, right? Yeah, it was a no contest and then got completely put out cold by Tapa in that rematch. But lost to Johanna Diniz by KO. Beat Robelis Despain, kind of just out-wrestled him and out-grappled him in that one. Despain had zero takedown defense, unfortunately, and then got KO'd by Pinto. Vitor Petrino has crazy power in his hands. He's a massive dude, a pretty good athlete as well. He's been struggling at light heavyweight, which you don't really want to see, especially against an Anthony Smith where he got submitted, was looking good in that fight and just ended up stuck in a guillotine, but then got KO'd against Dustin Jacoby. Looked really bad in that one. Dustin Jacoby's getting older. I think that was the first fight, I think, in a very long time that Dustin Jacoby won as the favorite. I think he was the favorite coming into that fight, right? I could be completely wrong. Oh, it says he's the underdog, so I guess that makes sense. But I think as the fight got closer, I think it kind of switched a little bit. But I'm going to go with Vitor Petrino here. I like it when guys move up divisions. I think he can put on enough size to not have a big problem in this fight. I know Austin Lane has an 80-inch reach, but power does kind of translate, especially if you're building up quality muscle, moving up divisions. He's from Brazil. I'm not saying because he's Brazilian that he's probably juicing, but if you look at him, you can see that he may be taking substances into these fights and maybe hiding it pretty well. But I think moving up a division in this fight, I think the power will translate. He doesn't have to worry about guys being faster than him on the feet or anything like that, like a Dustin Jacoby, who's a pretty good kickboxer himself and getting KO'd that way. I think he can have enough power on the feet and KO Austin Lane in this fight. So I like Vitor Petrino in this one. His wrestling and grappling has gotten better, especially at light heavyweight. He's still pretty young, 27 years of age, almost 28. He has been working on his wrestling and grappling over time, and I think his hands have gotten better. It was just more of guys being faster than him and landing pretty well on him, and he just got KO'd. Like, that's the thing with Dustin Jacoby. He's kind of sneaky with it. You can never really bet on his fights confidently, weirdly enough, because he'll get KO'd by the guys that he's supposed to beat, and then KO'd KO's the guys he's supposed to lose to, but Vitor Petrino has nice power in his hands. I think he'll translate at heavyweight. I think he can catch Austin Lane. I don't think he's going to get taken down and out wrestled and out grappled in this one. So I'm going to go Vitor Petrino by KO. I'm going to say late first, early second. Let's move on. We have Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier. I don't even know how to say that. I think it's Charrier. I'm going to go Morgan Charrier in this one, but I do worry that Nate Landwehr is going to turn back the clock a little bit and figure out in this one, because I did watch Morgan Charrier's last couple fights, especially against Nathaniel Wood, who is a very good striker on the feet, did get dropped by him early on, but this isn't like a Gabriel Miranda. I think he does train with Gabriel Miranda. Do they both train at MMA Masters? They might. I think I might be wrong there, but Nate Landwehr is hittable. But after the first round, weirdly enough, it seems like once he takes like that reset button or the restart button, he kind of just goes crazy. I don't know what exactly it is. Like his chin just gets better as the fight goes on. And what worries me is if this fight gets out of the first round, I know Morgan is very good, very technical, has very good wrestling abilities. Like there's times where Nathaniel Wood was taking him down and then he was able to reverse position. Nate Landwehr, if he gets dropped, if this fight gets out of the first round, I do worry a little bit for Morgan, because it seemed like he did get a little bit tired as that fight went on against Nathaniel Wood. I know there was a lot of wrestling and there was a lot of grappling, so maybe that's why he tired out a little bit. But it seemed like as the fight went on, he did start to slow down. He did become more and more hittable. That 100% worries me in this one. I know Nate Landwehr got finished by Doohoo Choi in his last fight. I think I picked Nate Landwehr to win that one, and he got crucifix and got KO'd on the ground, but maybe Morgan Charrier can do the same thing in this one, but I like Morgan. I think he can get the KO early. He has a lot of power in his hands. He's very technical. I like him as a prospect. I think he's going to give a pretty big test at pretty much everyone he fights because of just how skilled he is. But Nate Landwehr, he's too hittable, but I do worry after the first round that maybe Morgan's just going to keep getting tired, and Nate Landwehr is just going to keep getting better and put the pressure on and force him to kind of get in exchanges he doesn't want to be in. So I do like Morgan in this one, early finish, but I do worry a little bit about him in this fight. So let's move on. We have Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. This is a tough one because Calvin Kattar is coming off a 4-fight losing streak, lost to Josh Emmett, which he probably shouldn't have lost. I'm going to be completely honest. Got injured against Arnold Allen. Got completely out-wrestled and grappled by Aljamain Sterling. Yusuf Zalal, he did win that decision, but it wasn't anything like super impressive. Like he was on his back foot, kept it rangy. Calvin Kattar had a hard time hitting him. Steve Garcia is kind of different. Like Steve Garcia, I really like Steve Garcia as a prospect. Like I'm a pretty big fan of his. I'm going to be completely honest. Like I love watching this dude fight. He gets some nice finishes. Has been looking really good in the UFC as well. KO'd Chase Hooper, who's looking really good. And that was, 2.5 years ago. Melquizael Costa got the KO. Sengu Choi, Kyle Nelson got the KO. It's just super fun fights. He likes to put the pressure on, likes to make it a dog fight. That's the thing with this one. Unless Calvin Kattar is completely washed, I don't know. I don't know if Steve Garcia can kind of get the win here. Like maybe the worry is that Steve Garcia kind of turns up the pace a little bit too much and he can't finish Calvin Kattar. That's the worry in this fight, because Calvin Kattar has always been fighting the top guys. Like Yusuf Zalal is no joke. Aljamain Sterling's no joke. Arnold Allen's no joke, even though he got injured in that fight. Josh Emmett has always been kind of at the top. I don't think he has power in his hands. I don't know how technically good he is, but he's always been fighting these top guys. He's only 37 years of age. I do worry that style-wise, this is going to be a tough matchup for Steve Garcia, where I think he's going to give his all to Calvin Kattar. I just worry that he might not be able to finish Calvin Kattar in this one. I know Calvin Kattar has taken some damage in his career. Hasn't really taken too much recently, I will say. Yusuf Zalal did land some punches, but it wasn't like anything super significant. I like Calvin Kattar in this fight. I'm going to pick Calvin Kattar for the upset. It's plus 115 here. I like him just not getting finished. I think he can take the shots in the first round. I just think Steve Garcia is just going to slow down as this fight goes on. I think second and third round, he's going to slow down. I could be completely wrong here. He could just KO Calvin Kattar, and I could see that completely happening here. And Calvin Kattar could just be on the other side of his career. He could be going on a super long win streak or losing streak, and retire. That could be exactly what this is, but he's been fighting the top guys. Yusuf Zalal, I think, is really good. I think he's the only other guy outside of like Josh Emmett that didn't get KO'd by Ilya. And that kind of means something now, very interestingly enough. But I like Calvin Kattar in this one. I think he can just take all the shots that Steve Garcia is just going to give him in the first round. And I think Steve Garcia is going to tire out a little bit. And I think the shots are going to be more and more clear for Calvin Kattar. I think this is going to be a close fight. I think Calvin Kattar is going to win this one by decision. The thing is, it's just we haven't seen Steve Garcia really pass like the first or second round in a while. Like Shayilan Nordinvike got the KO. Chase Hooper KO in the first round. Melquiz Alcasta KO in the second round. KO in the first round. KO in the first round. Like he's getting these early finishes. Decision, lost that one. I guess he got KO'd by Mahashate on his UFC or second fight in the UFC. Third fight in the UFC, huh? So he's kind of figured it out now. But he is getting a little bit older as well, 33 in his prime of his career. This fight's so 50-50. I'm going to go with Calvin Kattar, though. I think he can take all of his shots early on. I think Steve Garcia will tire out a little bit. I'm going with Calvin Kattar. I do worry about Steve Garcia kind of putting the pressure on and Calvin Kattar kind of withering away a little bit because he is a little bit older and he has taken some damage in his career. But I like Calvin Kattar just absorbing it. I think he figures it out. Been fighting the top guys, is a veteran. I think you'll figure it out in rounds 2 and 3. So let's move on. We have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. Very interesting fight. The thing about this one is that I trust Bonfim's grappling ability. I trust his striking. He's very wild on the feet, and those are kind of the guys that do end up catching Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But I have a hard time trusting Bonfim just because of his cardio. I feel like if he struggles to take down Thompson early, I think his cardio is not going to get better. I think there's going to be opportunities on the feet for Wonderboy to maybe piece up Bonfim as this fight goes on in the second or third round. That's what worries me the most in this one. A lot of people are saying a submission win for Steven. Shavkat submitted him. Kevin Holland lost that fight. Bilal Muhammad. Burns couldn't get the submission on him. Bilal Muhammad couldn't get the submission. I know this is like 3-4 years ago. Shavkat was really the only one to get the submission. Joaquin Buckley is super wild on the feet, got the KO. I think this one goes to a decision, and this is why it worries me, because I don't see Bonfim finishing him. Maybe he does. Maybe he gets in like the clinch and it lands him a crazy shot on Thompson, and Thompson kind of just goes out and he wins that way. I don't see him submitting Wonderboy. Like I know Bonfim's pretty crazy on the feet, and maybe he can overwhelm Wonderboy and find the submission, but I don't see that happening. I think Bonfim kind of gasses out a little bit as this fight goes on. I think the X factor will be is that I think Wonderboy's takedown defense doesn't get better as this fight goes on either. I think he's going to be able to find takedowns in key moments. That's why I'm going to side with Bonfim a little bit here. And I do trust him as a younger fighter, almost 28 years of age. Wonderboy's like 42. He's very old. This is like a 14-year age difference. We'll have, a 2.5-inch reach advantage. I just trust Bonfim to kind of find the takedowns when he needs them. I know Wonderboy is super dangerous on the feet, and I can see him landing some good shots in the second and third round, but I just like Bonfim kind of finding the takedown. I don't think he finishes Wonderboy, but maybe he can find it early on. I don't mind it at all, but I think they'll both end up fading a little bit as this fight goes on. I think Bonfim will find the takedowns. I do worry, though, about this pick like quite a bit. I know he's a -420 favorite, but there is a little bit of worry in me for Bonfim in this one that he might tire out, and Wonderboy is going to find an easier time landing shots on the feet as this fight goes on. So I'm going to go with Bonfim. I think he's super technical on the feet, or at least has some power. He's very explosive, very technical in the grappling. I'm going to go Bonfim. He's a younger fighter here. The thing is, I just have a hard time trusting him, especially after that Nicholas Dalby fight. I have a hard time trusting him. Angelusa, he's kind of tiring out in that one. I know that one was at altitude, so he did fight a more technical fight in that one, but he did get the submission over Chaos Williams, which was pretty good. But I don't know. I have a hard time trusting him a little bit. I just think he's going to be able to find the shots and land the better strikes, maybe on the ground as this fight goes on. I like him in this one. Let's move on. That fight was super tricky. This whole card's super tricky, but this fight, the main event, Derek Lewis versus Talison Teixeira. I'm going to have to go with Talison Teixeira. It is very soon in his career to fight a guy like Derek Lewis. I don't know exactly his ranking. Tapology is saying number 11, but this is a pretty fast fight to get. Derek Lewis has been in the UFC for a very long time. beat Arthur Lopez by KO, beat Justin Tapa by KO very early as well. Thaleson Teixeira, and you don't really see Justin Tapa get KO'd like that against another power striker. The thing with Teixeira, though, is he's so long. He can be caught, which is a little bit of worry in this one. Derek Lewis has a 79-inch reach. Thaleson Teixeira has a 83-inch reach, so he will have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. But Teixeira has really nice power in his hands. He's got a lot of tools on the feet, which I will say is going to give Derek Lewis a lot of problems. Derek Lewis will always just go out there and kind of go crazy with his hands. He's a little bit technical. I would say he's more patient than technical. If anything, like he does throw like a switch kick and like some crazy shit once in a while. But I think Teixeira really is very technical on the feet. I think especially in fights like the Cyril Gahn fight and maybe even the Tai Tuivasa fight where he did get KO'd, especially in the clinch with like an elbow, you'll see a lot of that with Teixeira. And I think there's just going to be a lot going on with Teixeira's offense. I think it's going to overwhelm Derek Lewis a little bit. And I think Lewis is kind of, I don't want to say he's going to quit, but I think he's going to, I guess he is going to kind of quit. I feel like he's going to find out that he's not going to be able to finish this guy early on. He's not going to be able to find a shot on the feet. And I think he's going to get a little bit worried. I don't think he's going to know what he's going to do on the feet after it gets in like the clinch. He's going to get it like knee to the body. He's going to take some damage. And I think it's very similar ways with like Kevin Holland, where I think they just make so much money, especially with Derek Lewis. I think in his mind, he's like, I'm probably not going to be champion. Like that was what the Cyril Gahn fight was about. I'm not going to be champion at this point. Like I'm here for the paycheck. If I can get the KO, that's nice. But at a certain point in the fight, the light's going to like be like, okay, I just kind of need to get out of here. Thaleson Teixeira is very technical on the feet. I could be completely wrong and Teixeira just gets laid out in this one, but I think Teixeira just has so many weapons on the feet. He can make this dirty, make it in the clinch, knee him to the body, elbow over the top, that kind of Tuivasa got and kind of KO'd Derek Lewis by doing. I think he just has so many weapons. I think it's going to overwhelm Derek Lewis a little bit more, and I think Teixeira is going to find his shot, and then Derek Lewis is kind of hurdle up on the ground, and Teixeira is going to find TKO strikes. But I just think Teixeira just has way too many weapons on the feet. He's a very long guy. He's only 25, almost 26 years of age, so he's very dangerous, very big dude as well. So he's not going to get really physically outmatched by Derek Lewis in this one. I just think Thaleson Teixeira just has way too many weapons on the feet, and I think it's just going to be way too much for Derek Lewis. I think he's going to get hit with like a head kick, get knee to the body, get teeped. Like he's just not going to know what to do. He's not going to be able to find his shot. It's going to get in the clinch, and I think it's going to get dirty. I think Teixeira is just going to land a shot, and I think Derek Lewis is just going to go down to the ground, kind of cover up, and he's going to win by TKO. So I'm going to go Thaleson Teixeira, late first round TKO in this one. Let me know who you guys have down below in the comments or in the chat, whatever you would prefer. Locks of the week, betting-wise, I like Chris Curtis a lot. He is like a minus 200, I think, at this point, last time I checked. Parlay-wise, Chris Curtis I like. Cheaty I like a little bit as well. Who else? There's not many guys I trust. Mike Davis is like a minus 900 favorite. He's not even bettable at this point. So if you like him by decision, betting lines don't know how exactly this fight's going to go. I think TKO is like plus 150 or whatever, and the decision is like plus 200. I mean, if you think that fight goes to a decision, I think there's some decent odds there as well. But yeah, I do like Calvin Kattar. If you're confident in this fight, Steve Garcia and Calvin Kattar, I think it'd be very interesting. I think maybe live betting that one might be a better go. But I like Calvin Kattar, Chris Curtis, and I will say Cheaty as a little parlay, and then maybe live bet in the Nate Landwehr fight if you see him get past the first round. That's what I'd look at. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. The next couple cards coming up. Why don't we get into that one real quick? See if Tapology can help me out here a little bit. There's a lot of fights going on. UFC kind of got its oomph back a little bit since John Jones retired. Thank God, because it was looking really rough for a while. So it's really nice. It feels like we got a good string of cards coming up. Holloway Poirier. This card's not that great, especially for a pay-per-view card, but there is some fights that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be watching these ones. Like Jackson McVeigh and Bruno Ferreira, I think that's actually a pretty solid fight. There's just not many names on this card is the thing. Ateba Gontier versus Robert Valentin. Looking forward to that one. I haven't watched this guy in a while. I think I remember Vorotenikov, I think is his name. He looked decent against Barlow from what I remember. So Maybe this fight might be pretty solid. Probably won't, if I'm being honest. Islam Dulatov, pretty big prospect. Oliveira versus Phillips. I think that's a pretty solid fight. Vittori versus Allen. Hopefully they get them at the press conference. That would pretty much make this card. And that one's going to be a good fight because they have a lot of beef. Apparently they got in like some kind of fight at a casino or whatever like a year ago. So hopefully that one's pretty interesting. We got Costa Kopylov, great fight. Hopefully that fight happens and it doesn't get rescheduled. Ige Pitbull. I think Ige might get the KO on that one. Daniel Zellhuber, decent prospect, but these should not be main card fights. That's the big problem with this card, in all honesty. I'm surprised they got Vittori, Brendan Allen on the prelims, in all honesty. Like, why do we have Zellhuber, Michael Johnson? I feel like that should be the prelim headliner, at least, because people know who Michael Johnson is, and if you really want to promote Daniel Zellhuber, I think you put him on the last prelim, or at least Dulatov on the last prelim if you want to promote those guys, but I don't know. There aren't great main card fights on that card, which is super unfortunate. And then we got Whitaker to Ritter. This card is awesome. Movsar Evloev, Aaron Pico makes his debut. Looks, I think this, oh, it's 2 5-round fights. Oh, shit. Okay. It's going to be super interesting then. And then we got Magomedov, Andre Barriol, Piotr Yan, Marcus McGee, Bryce Mitchell, Said Nurmagomedov, Ivo Aslan on the card, Nikita Krylov, great fight, versus Guskov. I think Leo looked pretty good from what I remember. He hasn't fought in a little bit, right? Yeah, he beat Morono. He's looked pretty solid. I think he did pretty good against Renat. So Damon Blackshear always looks pretty solid against Davey Grant. Yeah, there's some really good fights on this card. Weirdly enough, these 2 fight night cards you could argue are probably a little bit better than the pay-per-view card with Holloway Poirier. So, and then I think do we have a 2-week break again? No. Okay, we have Albazi, Tyra. This card's kind of rough looking, I'm not gonna lie. Bekaev's cool, I like him. Danny Silva, Vallejo's good fight. Bashi, good prospect. Esteban. Decent prospect, I think. I don't remember too much of his fights, but his name does ring a bell a little bit. But there's some decent cards coming up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.